A very warm welcome to Study IQ. Dear friends, I am Prashant Mauni. I hope you all are doing good. Dear friends, yesterday, that is on 11th of October, the world celebrated World's Girl Child Day. And of course, India, a country that is having a dedicated ministry known as Ministry of Women and Child Development, of course, celebrated this World Child Day. Let me tell you that this day was celebrated on international level, it was celebrated by UNICEF. And the most important thing that we have to understand here is that every girl child, right? Every girl child has a seed of motherhood. And we know very well how close we all are to our mothers, isn't it? So this is the beauty of nature, that a girl child, can you imagine a small girl has a seed of motherhood? After certain years, and she will have all the love and warmth that we get from our mother. And of course, girls are a very important part of our society, our life, as a mother, sister, as wife, as friends, and we should create an enabling environment in which they can reach their maximum potential. Having said that, dear friends, please allow me to introduce all of you to our pen drive and tablet courses for different exams like SSC, Bank, UPSC, and other government exams. StudyIQ provides best quality, best faculty designed pen drive and tablet courses, and at present there is a 33% discount going on. It's a pre-Diwali sale, so if you haven't ordered it, do it now. You can give us a call on this number. If you have any further query, you can order it on this number as well. And don't forget to check out StudyIQ.com, in which you will find other items like UPSC test series and other things that are important for your examination preparation. Right, dear friends, the first editorial that we have on our screen is pertaining to euthanasia. I'm sure yesterday we discussed about this thing, and I gave you a basic idea of what euthanasia is all about. We discussed about this thing, that it is allowed in different countries, some of the modern countries like Netherlands and some Scandinavian countries as well. They allow this practice of euthanasia. For new listeners, let me tell you that euthanasia is basically that if you are not well, say for example if you are suffering from a disease, and let me say that best example would be coma. If someone is in coma, and now you know that there is no guarantee, isn't it? We still don't have that sort of technology that through which a person can come back from coma. So the best thing, if the person is just vegetating for years and years, or many times you have a disease in which there is no cure at all, and you have to go through all the pain. So you live, but the life is more horrid than death. So during this sort of time, you can you can decide to, under medical condition, if the laws allow, then you can take sort of pills or injections through which you can have a sort of, you can embrace death with peace, right? And you can get rid of all the pain and things that you have to go through. So this is allowed in some country, but in India, of course, it is not allowed at all. And this whole case of euthanasia is before a constitutional bench of Supreme Court. So whatever the verdict will be, will decide in which direction we will head. The other thing is, there is also a concept of living wills. Now this is something new for India, not completely new, but you can say that it is a semi-new thing, because we know that in our culture, there are many times we hear our grandparents, they are saying that when I will not be here, then these things will belong to you, this will be yours, etc., etc. So this sort of things we have heard about, but this is more technical. Living wills is pertaining to, say for example, at present we are healthy, we are fit and fine, and we can have a will that just in case, if in future for whatever reason, if I am not fit, if I am not well, say for example because of an accident or some sort of disease that you catch, then if I'm vegetating, then I would rather opt to go for euthanasia rather than lying on a bed for the longest period of my time. Rather than just vegetating, I would rather embrace euthanasia. So this is basically called a living wills. So this is something that will be the outcome of this decision of this constitutional bench on euthanasia. So we'll know about this thing, and there are some good points regarding living will. The biggest moral point is that many times we know that it is very tough for the people who are who are caretakers or the family members, close family members who are looking after the person who is not well, and a time comes when they have to take some sort of tough decisions, isn't it? They have to decide whether the life support system should be kept on or it should be switched off. So this sort of questions are very tough. It is very challenging moment as well for any person or any family member. So if it is already stated, then doctors can take a decision as per the will of the person who is not well. Now again, if we see the technicality, if we go through Article 21, right, that is pertaining to right to life, under it, it clearly says that you don't have a right to die, right? So it is not that you can end your life. And just a couple of years, like I think it was last year when we amended this suicide law as well. Earlier during British era, this was designed, and under this law it was considered if a person is found committing suicide or an attempt of suicide was considered as a crime, and this was a sheer misunderstanding of the mental state of the person who has conducted or committed or tried to commit suicide. But now we have changed it. We consider it as a sort of mental health issue. It's not that you have gone completely mad, but there is a sort of depression and suicidal tendency, and with the help of love, tender care and medical support and professional help, this can be sorted out. So now that thing has been changed, and here we say that right to life in normal days, in normal life as well, we say, you know, many times, I'm sure you might have heard about this thing, or many times we might have uttered this thing as well to someone else. If someone is interfering with our things in our life, then we say that it is my life, I can do whatever I like, isn't it? So on a personal level, on a societal level, we are having a complete right over what we do in our life, as far as we are not harming anyone. But when it comes to right to life, the Article 21, earlier there was a verdict that said that you don't have right to die, but this is altogether a different thing, isn't it? This is for you to get rid of the pain. And recently, a couple of days ago, it was in the news, and we have discussed it as well. I'm sure you will remember this thing, that Supreme Court has written to the central government, and it has said that it has requested, or you can say that it has indicated central government that you should think about alternative method of death penalty rather than hanging a person. There are other medical facilities as well through which a person can embrace death in a much more painless and peaceful manner. So if on one side, if Supreme Court is allowing or opting for this sort of things, then of course it should think about the people who have not committed crime and who are just suffering from disease and this sort of things. So hopefully it will take a holistic view, and let's not become judgmental. Let's wait and watch what is the outcome of this constitutional bench. And whatever the outcome is, the bottom line is that it has to ensure that there are robust safeguards. Doctors or any other person, many times we know that because of property and other things, because of jealousy, family issues, many times you find that people will go ahead and make these fake wills, and because of that a person has to lose his life. So this sort of things, there should be safeguards, responsibility and accountability of doctors should be fixed, etc. The person who is designing this whole will, of course, they should be issued specific license and things like that. Now, there is a concept in the United States, and it is about healthcare proxy. Now, what this healthcare proxy is, say for example, if I'm fit at present, and if I know that I'm going to get ill because of some disease that is in first stage or in a very inception stage, then I can appoint, officially I can declare my friend or family member, any person, as my healthcare proxies, just in case if I'm in a sort of vegetative state or not in a state in which I can take decision, then this people can take a decision. So there are other ways as well that we can do. These are the other methods that can be applied in our country as well. So dear friends, basically we have covered everything regarding it, and the last thing that I would like to highlight is active euthanasia and passive euthanasia. Passive euthanasia is allowed. What it is basically, that if you are not well, then the doctor will say that this person will not be able to recover as per the best of his or her knowledge. When I say his or her, I mean to say the doctor's knowledge. Then the doctor will ask you, the family members, that it's better to remove the life supporting system. So this is passive euthanasia, the patient does not have any say in it, but active euthanasia is about living wills, and you determine your state before getting ill. So that's basically everything. I'm sure we will find more editorials and articles on this item. This is a thing that is going to go on for a bit of long time. Now, second article or second editorial is pertaining to banning the bomb. Now, recently Nobel Prizes were declared, and international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons, that is ICAN, got Nobel Prize for peace purposes because it is working in an area which it is basically working for banning this nuclear bombs, right? And it is in line with 122 countries. Recently in 2017, 122 countries of the world, and they are member of United Nations, of course, they opted for, or they indicated that there should be a treaty and there should be a complete ban on these bombs. The sad thing is that humanity, we are spending more money, right? We are spending huge amount of money after defense and all these bombs and arsenal. But if we stop all this sort of cutthroat competition, I do understand that it is difficult. It is easy to say and difficult to do. But imagine a world where no one is threatening each other, right? We are in a stage now, we understand that it is not the wars. Remember what Sushma Swaraj said in the parliament when this Doklam issue was going on? She said, and the words are very relevant here, she said that it is better to discuss or talk now rather than talking after a war, because the war starts when the dialogues fail, and to end the war as well you need dialogues, isn't it? This is a very important thing. It is a part of diplomacy. They also say that diplomacy is the last sort of wall that you have to cross, or the last door. If this door is breached, that means if the dialogues fail, if the diplomacy fails, then there is no other option but a sort of violent war. But if you are able to sort out things on table, then you don't need these weapons at all, right? So at present, with these weapons, we have huge arsenal of weapons, and there is no need of this thing at all at present. Particularly these nuclear bombs, we know what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II. And since last 70 years, United Nations General Assembly, since 1946, it is trying to come out with a code to ban this thing, but still we are not able to do that. In fact, what we are seeing is in 2017 we have issues of North Korea. It is one step by step conducting different sort of nuclear tests, and we have also issue of Pakistan. The biggest threat that not only India but the whole world is worried about, one thing is that the nuclear bombs, these nuclear facilities, if they come in the hands of terrorist organization, and we know the case of Pakistan where many of their army people, right, army officers, they have their links with the terrorist organization. So whatever the reason could be, they could be using it for their own personal prosperity, they could be using it for a sort of strategy to keeping a tab on India, whatever it could be. But having links with terrorists is something that is not giving a sort of tight sleep to many countries, because if imagine this people like ISIS and other terrorist groups, Al Qaeda, if they develop this technology, or if this nuclear bombs, if they come somehow in their hands, then that could be a very that could be a doom day for the whole world. It would be a worst nightmare coming live. So this is the biggest threat, and this is one of the reasons why we need to ensure that all the nuclear weapons that are at present, they should be safe. And of course, any sort of this sort of disaster is going to be detrimental for already deteriorating global climate, and also it would be the biggest holocaust on humanity. And we have other cases like mature countries, world players like United States, right? They are taking decisions, hasty decisions. We know recently this Donald Trump, he said that he's going to opt out for this Iran nuclear deal. Now we know that this nuclear deal is not a deal that took place between Iran and USA. It took place between international community and Iran. So how can they behave like this way? So you can see the world is at present in a mess. And the work done by this sort of groups is of course commendable. It is in right direction, and the world as well, as you can see, 122 countries are opting for destruction of this weapons, and we have so far managed to get rid of many other weapons, like chemical and biological weapons are banned now, but it is the only last category. These nuclear weapons are the last category of weapons of mass destruction that has to be outlawed. And there are some countries like Italian Parliament and Dutch Parliament have already passed laws, and they already encourage, right? This country encourage that they should work for ending nuclear arsenal. So here is your Italy, very briefly, and very briefly, that's your Dutch. That means Netherlands. Right, so moving on to another item. This is about the architecture of choice. Again, this is coming from Nobel Prize, and yesterday we were talking about this behavior economics, right? Behavioral economics and how it impacts decision making. I'm sure if I give you a sort of practical example, then you would be able to relate with this thing. Many times we find that people who are generally very smart, or people who are considered successful, many times their decisions or the way they behave looks very childish, and we think that this behavior does not suit them at all. But the thing is, one thing that we miss or we often forget is that we human beings generally we consider ourselves as a very rational, or you can say a logical animal. But if you go through, if we observe the life of human beings, then we find that it is not always logic and rationality that drives our decision. Like if I give you one example, then imagine, I'm sure you might have seen this sort of things, isn't it? If something is priced as say for example 1,000, then you will say, oh my god, it is 1,000 rupees. But if it is priced 998 or 991 rupees, then even if you are telling someone, then you will say that okay, it is just going to cost me 900 rupees. You see the way your behavior, or the way you can see the marketing people, they are very smart. They know how psychology works, how your mind works. And you can also see how irrational we become many a times, because the way our brain is designed, right? If you study how our brain, of the anatomy of our brain, then you will find that it is the emotional side of the brain, right? That is the first one to gather information. So a couple of seconds ago, in microseconds, there is a difference, but I'll give you one more example. Imagine a person whom you don't like at all, right? Or a person whom you love a lot. So out of the blue, if you find a person whom you don't like at all, then you will not think about for even a microsecond, right, about ethics and morality and things like that. The first thing that will hit your mind is that I hate this person. And after a couple of seconds, you would be able to soothe yourself and realize that okay, the things are over, or whatever the issue could be. So this is an example. And the person whom you love, you don't have to wait and think, okay, I love my parents, or I love my brother or sister or wife or husband or boyfriend or girlfriend. It's just a click, isn't it? That as soon as you see their face, your subconscious mind is aware that this is the person that you love. So that's how our brain is designed. Emotions have a sort of upper hand. But again, I'm repeating what I have said a couple of days ago, that it is emotional intelligence that matters in this period of time. There are many research conducted by the people like Mr. Richard, who got this Nobel Prize for behavioral economics. Then you have Daniel Kahneman, and you have Daniel Goleman. Then is Amos Tversky. There are many people who have worked in this area of how our mind works and how we take decision. And this is of course something, this is a concept that is growing on, and you can see this thing working in pension plan as well. If I tell you, or if earlier what used to be that you were not allowed to opt out from the pension plan. So this was not making people happy. They were knowing that at the end of the day, after their retirement, they are going to get some money, and this will help them in their old age. But now when you provide them a sort of an option that you can whenever you like, you can opt out from it. You can take all your money whenever you like. And by making this small change, by allowing people to have a sort of say in their pension plan, the rate has gone up. More and more people are opting for this sort of schemes. When it comes to unhealthy eating as well, we know that at present obesity is one of the things through which the whole world is struggling. It is growing in country like India, where generally we have a scarcity of food, right? Many people sleep hungry, and generally we find that people are very skinny, isn't it? The people who starve for a long time. But then as well, in a country like India, we find that people are facing or struggling with obesity, and it is because of lifestyle and other things. So food always comes in, isn't it? So there are many ways. You can take some extreme steps, like you can ban foods, you can stop the sale of burgers and other junk foods, and you can apply sin tax on it, right? Luxurious tax on foods like the high sugar thing, this Coke and other beverages and other items. You can apply more tax on it, but that as well will not stop people to drink it. But what this Richard he's saying that he's talking about this nudge type of policy. What is nudge type? It is basically providing you an option of healthier food, right? When you have healthier food, if it is placed in the right shelf in your supermarket, if it is visible, and if it is presented in a way that it will attract your attention, then there are high chances that people will opt for healthy food. So this is basically what he is. This nudge type of policy is what he's talking about, and this has been applied in Swachh Bharat as well. Now, I'm not sure whether they were knowing about this nudge policy or not, and it is not that only after someone has discovered this sort of theory, then only you can apply it. Not at all. There are some things that we apply, then we find that this is a theory, or these are the things that are working behind it. So in Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, what many people did, or these volunteers, what the people who were defecating in open area, some volunteers, they escorted the villagers out of the field, and they put some food next to some human waste, and with the help of this experiment, right, they displayed, or they proved that the flies, right, they sit on this human waste, and then it flies back and forth. It keeps on going, altering or changing its location between food and human waste. So this was a way, and this is another example of nudge policy or nudge behavior. And you have again, if you want, you can try this thing out as well. If you ask someone like why you believe in something or something else, etc., then the answer that you will get would be you will find a shade of aggressiveness, or it would be too personal. If you say someone like why you believe in God, say for example, then the arguments that you will get from that person would be altogether different. If you ask someone that share your thoughts about belief and why one should have faith and things like that, so the answers would be altogether different. So this is how irrationality and human mind and human behavior works. I hope this would be more than enough for you to understand. Now, this is this article is about Mahatma Gandhiji, and recently we know that there was a sort of an appeal, or you can say a PIL is filed in Supreme Court, and it is asking for finding out who killed Gandhiji and other things associated with the murder of Gandhiji. And we know that in 1948 our country was going through a very rough period. On one side we had our partition of our country, Pakistan and East Pakistan, that is now East Pakistan, we know it as Bangladesh now. It is of course an independent country. So we had our partition in 1948, and in the same year we lost Mahatma Gandhi as well. And he was killed because his views were different. This was the only reason why he was killed. And one of the reasons why he was killed, again, because not only of his view, but he was a threat as well. Of course, we know that Gandhiji was not a person who would use violence. So he was not a threat in that sense, but he was threat because the way he was carrying himself, his thoughts, his ideals were creating a sort of positive change. And there were many people, and there are many people even today as well around the world who are engaged in spreading hate, and they have their own ideologies, and the way they carry these things is that they are not ready to listen to anyone else. What they think is right for everyone. So this was the same evil forces that were having a sort of direct threat from Gandhiji, because Gandhiji was covering everyone with his warmth and love, and this was a big threat for these people. So this was the main reason why he was killed. Now the person, his name is Mr. Fadnis, right, Pankaj Fadnis. He has appealed in the Supreme Court for this re-investigating the death, and he is saying that it is not the right, it is not the RSS or the people who say that it was behind it. He's saying that it is some other forces, and we can understand his frustration, because he's a member of a right-wing group. So they are claiming that they have their own claims and they have their own version of truth. And what we can learn from country like Germany, we know that Holocaust took place in Germany, and Nazism and Hitler and all these things are the past of Germany. Of course, it's a totally different country now. The people are humble and they are more humane now, but there was a time, there was a phase. In fact, Japan as well, we consider Japan as a very peaceful country, isn't it? But we know that Japan was a country that was very aggressive during this phase of World War I and World War II. It was one of the most aggressive country. It was attacking and it was expanding itself and things like that. But now if you meet Japanese people, you would find that they are the most humble people in the world. So things have changed now, but in our country, I'm not saying that everyone is the same, right? We have moved as well. We are at present in altogether different level, but we know that there are some group of people in every country who are say for example anti-change. So we find them in our country as well. And what Germany, how they consider their past is that they say that we had a bad past, no doubt, but what we have to do is, rather than shying away from it, rather than throwing these things under the carpet, what we have to do is we have to critically review why this sort of things happened in our society. And once we identify the problem, then and then only we can find a solution for these things. And Germany has done it, right? They have identified, they have critically reviewed. And even if you go to the universities and the academics, then you will find that there is lots of research going on in this sort of Holocaust and why this thing happened, and social science, subject of social science. So this is something that is required in our country as well. And regarding Gandhiji, there was a phase when people were not writing about, not only writing his biography, but they were writing his hagiography. Hagiography is when you respect someone and then you write about that person. So of course the things that you are going to write is going to be all good, isn't it? And nowadays we find that there is a very severe sort of criticism, right? And many times it is out of logic as well. I have seen myself personally that if you talk about Gandhiji, then there are many people who generally speaking don't have enough knowledge about his ideology and what he stood for, etc., etc. And they consider that it is only through weapons and violence that you can do it. But many times Gandhiji and Bhagat Singh ji are considered as opposite to each other, which I personally believe is not right analysis at all, because what you are saying is that Bhagat Singh is a violent man. Not at all. He was a very calm and a composed person. He was at the age of 22, 23, he was a very mature person. And the things that he did, it is not violence, right? Violence is something that you are doing for negativity, right? You are doing it to take over or to express your power on someone else. And he did not, Bhagat Singh did not. And Gandhiji as well, when we talk about non-violence, he was not non-violent because he was afraid of someone. He was non-violent because he clearly believed that I am so powerful, or individual people, they are so powerful that they have the power of forgiving someone. And he believed that, he strongly believed that he was powerful enough. He was powerful in the sense he was having all the good sides in him when you compare him with the British people, or the British people of this era of British Raj. So he said that it is just like a father and a child. So Gandhiji, of course, as a father and child, misbehaving child like British Raj. So this was the difference. So he was his non-violence was rooted in courage and freedom, not in cowardice. So this is the difference here. And of course, we have to create a society that is more tolerant. And I would rather, this article is talking about tolerance, but I would like to add here that we have to create a sort of society that is more accepting society. We have to accept, because tolerance is something that I don't like something about you, but I let it go. But you never know, in future there would be a time when I would take everything together can come out. But when I'm creating or when we are creating a sort of accepting society, then we are creating an environment that we are ready to accept the dark side of the people and the good side, and we understand that everyone has good side and bad side, and then it is more a sort of mature way of dealing with things. With this, dear friends, the last one, this editorial, or you can say article, this is not, of course, not editorial, it is an article, and it is about accountability in police reforms. We have talked about this thing in detail, and we have talked about in the news item that recently the Union Cabinet approved 25,000 crore rupees for reformation, or you can say modernization of police, and this is going to be a sort of umbrella scheme. Central government is going to contribute 75% of the money, and the rest of the money is going to be contributed by the state government. But if we go through the Ministry of Home Affairs annual report, then we find that there is a sort of increase in elimination of armed Maoists, and this is not the right way. They have to go through this judicial process. And we also see that the directives, right, the directives of Supreme Court, it's been nearly 10 years now. 22nd September marked 10 years of this directives, 7 reforms, but still we have not applied it in letter and spirit. And this is considered a big change. It is celebrated by government, but if you go through 2015-16 fund report, then you find that only 14% of funds for modernization were utilized in 2015-16. So if we are going to spend this much money, then if we are not going to utilize, then they are not going to produce any result at all. And the other thing is that what happens is that again, you can see the behavioral thing, right? You can relate this thing with the things that we have talked about, human behavior, that we appreciate or we take it very positively when we find that, okay, 25,000 crore rupees for modernization, police is going to have weapons and helicopters and new cars and things like that. But this sort of technologies are of no use if there is no sort of check and balance. If the police people are not allowed to make a sort of free decision, if they are not given freedom enough, right, to do what is right, then any sort of technology it's not going to produce any result. And you can understand this thing from this condition that 10 states, right, there is only 10 states in our country that have a security of 10 years. That means if a senior police officer is appointed for 2 years, then he or she will complete 2 years in that particular office. Then there are only 5 states, right, they have a sort of independent shortlisting candidate. Here again, what happens is when you don't have independent selection process, so 2 years would be a person who is favoring political party could be there for 2 years, and 5 states only have this sort of independent shortlisting, and apart from that, rest of the states follow this chief minister order. So it is the chief minister who will decide who is going to be the chief of the police in that state. So we can understand very well that chief minister will take decision that is in favor of his or her party. Now about sexual intercourse with minor wife. This is considered as rape. Yesterday we were talking about this thing, and yesterday, yes, it was in yesterday's the Hindu newspaper. And what we find today is that Supreme Court has clearly stated that Article 375 is in contrast, right? A person, if a man is married to a girl, right? Of course, we cannot say a 15-year-old child as a woman, isn't it? So if a man's wife is 15-year-old and any sort of sexual relation between this man and this woman, not woman again, sorry, his wife is of course a sort of rape, and this is banned because we know that 18-year is any person, any individual, he or she, if he or she is below 18, then they are clearly child. So this is a good step, progressive step, and it is in line with what we started our lecture with for International Girl Child Day, isn't it? We have to ensure that all the girls in our country, no one is forced to have this sort of child marriages, and every girl should get complete education. Moving on to another items, dear friends, and this is about Prime Minister's Advisory Council. We know a couple of days ago this was formed, Advisory Council, and Bibek Debroy is the chairman of this council, and they have identified 10 areas. These 10 areas are the areas on which work will be done so that the whole economy is revived. We know that there is a slowdown in economy, private investment is down, and because of this thing, the growth engine, you can say both the growth engine, the public investment and the private investment, are not working in sync with each other, and because of that we are not able to create job, and again it is creating a sort of restlessness in the whole system. Union Cabinet has taken many decisions, and now the 7th Pay Commission pay will be applied to the faculty members of academic staff of both central and state universities, and this is going to benefit 7.5 lakh teachers. With this, you can say that if 7th Pay Commission is applied to 7.5 lakh people, or you can say 7.5 lakh family, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, a teacher would be part of a family. So if money is if the income of this family increases, then their spending will increase as well, and in this way it will also provide a sort of kick in the whole economy. Of course, this is not discussed in this news, but this is something that I think I should relate or connect the dots between some basic things and some changes that we find in current affairs. Then government has launched 2 new skill development programs, schemes, and one is called Sankalp and the other one is Strive. We are being beaten by the clock, so I'm a bit rushing here to sort out all the things to take you through all important items. And this 2 schemes, the Sankalp and Strive, are going to be supported by the World Bank. It is going to provide money for it, and apart from that, we have also decided to go ahead with this cargo swapping. What happens with cargo swapping is that, say for example, Japan is the biggest buyer of oil from Qatar. So if Japan is buying oil from Qatar, then we can say that, okay, give say for example 5 liters to us, and this 5 liter of if we take 5 liter of oil from Qatar, then we are taking it from the share of Japan, so we have to pay money to Japan. So in this way, this is known as cargo swapping. So it is like a barter system. So it depends on the how good relation we have with other country, and this is a very good and a new concept as well. Right, Prime Minister is talking about rural economy. He is talking about how we can boost the rural environment. If we provide all the urban amenities to rural area, then we can change the face of our country. And he also said that this Diwali everyone should buy or use earthen lamps that are produced by the rural artisan. In this way, not only the richer people will celebrate Diwali, but the poor would also get an opportunity to celebrate Diwali. He has also launched a dashboard portal, online portal called Disha, and he has also launched Gram Samvad app, and collection of tax has gone up. That means more revenue. Direct tax is the tax that we pay on our income, so that has gone up, and that means more revenue for the government. And you can see that Arabian Sea region, this is the Arabian Sea region. You have this sea here, then you can also take this Persian Gulf and Red Sea in it as well. I have clearly mentioned this thing here, so help yourself with it. And the other thing is that there are many species, right? 3 marine species, that is Pondicherry shark, the Red Sea torpedo, and tentacled butterfly ray. They have as per the IUCN, they are extinct. They are not found anymore. Since last 3 decades, there is no sign of these 3 species. So keep this in mind as well. You will find this sort of questions in your prelims. There is a sort of fire in California, and this sort of forest fires, or you can say wildfires, are a product of climate change. With this, I have 4 questions for you. Of course, 2 are descriptive and 2 are MCQ sort of questions. So please do take active part in passing your answer in comment section. With this, don't forget to subscribe, share this video lecture. If you learned something out of it, then do give us your like, and if you have already subscribed, then don't forget to make sure that you turn on that notification bell, so anytime there is a new video on our channel, you will get a notification from YouTube. Keep your environment green and clean. With this, dear friends, Keep calm and stay curious. May you shine, succeed and excel. Prashant Mauni signing off. Jai Hind.